Good afternoon. It's the Pit Stop. I'm Stephen McCollum. For the next hour or so, I'll get you set up on what's happening around the racing world, specifically IndyCar. They wrap up their season this weekend. Obviously, not a lot of drama in terms of their championship side of things, as Alex Palou's had that wrapped up here for a couple weeks. But we'll talk about that. Obviously, Truck Series back underway this weekend at Darlington. Their playoffs begin in the NASCAR Truck Series. Xfinity Series still has 2 races to go before they lock in their playoffs. But a lot of news on the Xfinity side of things. Then, of course, the lawsuit that'll never die, right? The 2311 Front Row Motorsports lawsuit got spicy yesterday. A lot of not suitable for work stuff, folks, right? But we'll clean it up for you and talk about that, as that has hit the explosive point here with that trial coming up in December. Teams not operating as charters, NASCAR wanting to get rid of charters and give them to other teams. It's a lot to take in, folks, and it is a big, huge battle here between those parties. We'll have those updates for you as well. And, of course, Cup Series locked in last weekend at Daytona for their playoffs. We'll get to the 16 in. The setup coming up here, race 1 this weekend at Darlington as well. Forgot to mention the Xfinity Series. Of course, going to Portland this weekend as well, with Portland this week and then next week into their regular season. But before we get into all of those details and everything, let's take an early look here at the IndyCar Series and how that is wrapping up its season. Of course, last weekend was in Milwaukee for that race. And look, Christian Rasmussen comes out with the win there for the IndyCar Series. And he led 16 of the laps. Alex Palou actually led 199 of the laps here in this race of the 250 laps. Christian Rasmussen gets the win with only leading the 16 going into this race. Scott McLaughlin was third. Alexander Rossi came in fourth. Pato O'Ward fifth. Christian Lundgaard in sixth. Josef Newgarden in seventh. Then David Malakis there in 8th, Scott Dixon 9th, and then Marcus Armstrong came in 10th there in Milwaukee. Milwaukee's always a fun race. I enjoy watching them race up there. It keeps you entertained no matter what's happening out there as they battle that out. This weekend, it actually is a favorite race of mine here around the IndyCar Series, and it's there at that Music City Grand Prix. Lebanon, Tennessee is where it is, but it's Nashville Speedway is where it's actually being held here this weekend, the racetrack that it's on. And it's going to be a fun end-of-the-season race. Last year, Colton Herta won this race. Obviously, no championships online here, so it's just how do these races finish here for the IndyCar guys as we look into, of course, this weekend here as they wrap up their season there in Tennessee coming up. The things around IndyCar that you're kind of paying attention to, and I'm going to enjoy this race, by the way, on Sunday. As well. 2 p.m. Eastern time here coming up August 31st, Sunday here for the IndyCar guys. And let's get that season, done with. Move on. Let's see if anybody can do anything in the offseason to combat there, right? The Alex Palou and that Ganassi team that he has out there. But the rumors around there that everybody's kind of paying attention to, the 2026 schedule for IndyCar. Some rumors out there. Of course, we do know that, March 1st weekend for the IndyCar next year will be at that St. Petersburg race. We know that because the NASCAR Truck Series has already said that they're going to race that weekend there on the same circuit as a street race. So the Truck Series is going to race on February 28th. IndyCar underway on March 1st there in St. Petersburg. So we know that for a fact. We now know that Toronto is expected to be back on the circuit next year. And a couple of those, Portland's expected to be on, even though there's no official announcements. IndyCar leaders have kind of said they expect them to be on there coming up there. The surprises come right now, at least at the beginning of the season. So 4 races in the first 5 weeks is expected to come here, according to the rumors for this 2026 IndyCar season. One of my complaints on IndyCar is they'll race 1 week, have 2-3 weeks off, race again, especially early in the season. They're getting the season underway. They're not going to mess around and get 4 races in the first 5 weeks next year. I love that. Love that coming up here. One of the things that's expected to happen, no official announcement yet, well, IndyCar's coming back to Phoenix here at Phoenix Raceway. Excellent, right? More importantly, they're coming back the weekend of NASCAR as well, here as well. So IndyCar, right now, the rumors are it'll schedule to race on Saturday, March 7th. And then the Cup Series, obviously, for the NASCAR Series, comes back on and races their race on March 8th next year. So two big notices here. IndyCar coming back to Phoenix, racing the same weekend as the NASCAR circuit comes through. Of course, no truck races then, so it's Xfinity and Cup Series. And now mix in IndyCar as well there on March 7th is the rumors on that side. So that's exciting news there, race fans, for the Phoenix market here in that early March circuit coming up as well. So it's going to be so this IndyCar season next year, at least at the beginning side of it, looks to pack a lot of excitement from that side. Now, as I said, who can catch the Ganassi teams? Who can come in and catch Alex Palou with his successful season? Every team is going to be focusing on that coming into the 2026 year on the IndyCar side. So we'll keep track of what's happening here with the 2026 schedule on IndyCar as we're waiting for that to officially come out. So we'll know a lot more details out there. But I think this is exciting news from that perspective. And IndyCar can do a lot, right? It's different style of racing than NASCAR. A lot of times fans of one aren't necessarily fans of the other. There are several that cross over, like me, but a lot of them are separate, right? So intertwine these, especially with Roger Penske, obviously owning a couple NASCAR teams, and then also owning the IndyCar circuit along with a couple teams there. So I think it's a seamless integration, opens up racing to different people, of course, as they move forward and try to grow the sport of racing here, at least at that level coming up here. So IndyCar, last race this weekend there in Tennessee in Nashville. It's going to be fun to watch that season go bye-bye. One thing that's just starting, of course, the playoff series here. The Truck Series playoffs begins this weekend. Corey Heim, no doubt about it, is the series favorite going into these playoffs. His 65 playoff points that he's accumulated, it is the most of any drivers since this format debuted all the way back into 2017. That's how dominant he has been this year. He's got a 62-point lead going into this first round of the playoffs over his competitors on the second side. This playoff is set up for Corey Heim to go through and win a championship with the way he's run this year. They've had problems this year. They haven't won every race. They could have won more races. They either get knocked out in the race, wrecked, or something breaks on their car and go. So there's always that possibility. Will we have a competitive playoff race here on the Truck Series, or will this be a Corey Heim crowning moment here where he just dominates the playoffs like he did a lot of the regular season? That's going to be the narrative going into this. To refresh you, because the Truck Series had the off week last week, let's throw up the playoff standings here right now for them. Corey Heim, obviously, 2,065 points going in. My math was off a little bit, but Lane Riggs there, right? 2,026 points in second place there. Chandler Smith. Then you got Daniel Hemrick, Tyler Ankrum, Ty Majeski, who's defending champion on this playoff run, by the way. Grant Effinger here in seventh. Ray Carruth with his one win. They're in eighth. Caden Honeycutt with his playoff points. And then Jake Garcia. So the points reset, obviously, going into this. Round of 10 is what we're calling this, right? We get it knocked down here, and drivers get eliminated here as we go through this circuit here in the playoffs. So winner advances and moves on is the format. You get to go to the next round automatically with a win if you're a playoff driver. If not, you have to have enough points before the cutoff, or else you get eliminated from the playoffs. And for those of you that aren't NASCAR fans out there, just heads up here, you still get to race even if you get eliminated from the playoffs. Like, every team still gets to race. It's not like you stop racing and you go home. You race. So that comes into play here, right? Because a non-playoff driver can come and obviously eliminate, a Corey Heim and wreck a Corey Heim. He could knock him out of a race early or something to that effect, and obviously can have detrimental effects out there. So Truck Series getting underway here this weekend. Darlington Raceway for them. Saturday morning race here for the Truck Series at Darlington, 9 a.m. Phoenix time. So an early morning Saturday race, noon Eastern time for them racing there as well. So we'll give you more about the Darlington track coming up later on in the program and everything. So Truck Series playoffs are here. Narrative is simple. Corey Heim going to be able to secure a victory? Is this going to be a monumental upset by somebody? Narrative going into these playoffs is simply that. You could say, can Ty Majeski defend his championship? You're watching that? Absolutely. But this is Corey Heim's year, Corey Heim's playoffs, period, end of story. Can somebody disappoint him or upset him, right, and get him knocked out of the playoffs and somebody else win this thing? As we come up, other Truck Series news. Well, if you follow Frankie Muniz, of course, Malcolm in the middle, and I know he's got a bunch of followers out there. Well, he's not in the playoff hunt at all, but he is going to be out of racing for a little bit. The official statement from RBR, his race team, and I'm going to read it directly. Frankie Muniz was involved in an accident at his home in Arizona yesterday morning. He suffered a distal radius fracture in his wrist. Currently, there's no timeline for his return. Their focus is on a speedy recovery and competing together again soon. So Mason Maggio will race the number 33 this weekend, obviously in place of Frankie Muniz coming up there. And this is going to be an injury that, now can he race with it, with the cast on or with pain? That's the question. It doesn't heal fast. So, and he's got a lot of wheel time this year. He's learning, obviously, on this racing circuit. It'll be interesting to see if we do see Frankie again and get that wheel time to move into next year. But that injury at his home here, and as you saw there, he does live here in Arizona and has for a while as well. The other big news out of the Truck Series, Colleague Racing officially announced. We've heard the rumors. They were talking with Ram. We knew they were. Wasn't rumors. And they officially announced that they are going to be the Ram Trucks anchor team. Of course, Dodge Ram is moving into the NASCAR series now, right? They're going to start here in the Truck Series. We know they want to get up into the Cup Series. It's just a matter of when they are able to do it. But Colleague Racing now is going to be the anchor team there for the Dodge Truck Series coming up in 2026. They're still going to stay. Obviously, no Dodge in the other series at all. But they are going to start there. I did see posts where people were asking questions. How do you talk about, your Truck Series going with a new manufacturer and leaving behind the teams that they have in the upper series? It was an interesting, conversation there with Matt Colleague talking about that. The president there as well, kind of talking about how they had to talk to the other teams, the other car manufacturers and tell them, hey, we're still with you. We're doing this move here, et cetera. So a very interesting conversation to see. And we'll have to see where, obviously, if Ram Trucks, impresses them, something could change in the future coming up. But that is official. And Ram comes in this February, right? February 26th. You'll start seeing the Ram Trucks out there on the Truck Series. So Truck Series playoffs this weekend. Looking forward to it at Darlington, no less. We'll have the stats on Darlington coming up here later on in the program as well. So then we, of course, Xfinity Series. As I said earlier, Xfinity's 2 races away still from naming their playoff teams or playoff drivers out there. We'll get you updated on here coming up. And then this race last week, of course, the big watching and the big side of it. Well, it was simply, I tell you what, did I do the Truck Series playoff picture in that? So I did do that. Okay, sorry, folks. Lost my mind there for a second because I was thinking about Jake Garcia for some reason on that side. But, right, we told you about Connor Zilic, and, he was prepared to race last week at Daytona. He got in the car, he qualified, got in the car, and then he still gets credited for the win, but, of course, early in this race, lap 13, a caution on the track, Connor Zilic pulls into the pit stop, and then Parker Klingerman, part-time driver, was on standby for this race, goes in, gives a release of Connor Zilic here in this race. Connor Zilic started the race, so he actually gets credited with the win that Parker gets as well. So he gets credited for a 7th win, actually, of the season. This was just your typical, Daytona race. I didn't find it too exciting. Parker Klingerman had fantastic race, raced perfectly in this race to get there. And they got the owner's points and obviously driver's points for Connor Zilic moving forward on that. So the mission accomplished for them, but a lot of guys still racing for the playoffs here, which at the time going into Daytona, 3 races left in the season. So here's the race standings, of course, that happened last weekend for the Xfinity Series. That's the playoff championship. Let's just go and skip ahead to that real quick here, because obviously Connor Zilic has 7 wins here going into this. Justin Allgaier, 3 wins from there. He is still the regular season championship winner, and we'll give you the update here, but Connor Zilic and Justin Allgaier is battling it out here for that. That is not settled going into this season coming up here. Not settled at all, folks. So that is, I think there are 3 points, some points here between them is what they're battling it out. I'll get that update for you here in a minute. Sam Mayer's in third with his win now. We get to the 1 winner guys. Brandon Jones, 1 win. Sammy Smith, Jesse Love, Nick Sanchez, and then, of course, Austin Hill with his 3 wins, 0 playoff points because of his disqualification earlier a couple of weeks ago there. So those guys are playoff bound at least, right? Which leaves us with the 4 spots remaining going into it. Now, of course, Connor Zilic gets that 7th win of the playoffs, 7th win of the season, leads him into the playoff side of things. So, same winner, of course, coming into it. Carson Kvapil, 120 plus win, 120 points up on the final spot there. He will be a playoff driver unless something major happens to him. Sheldon Creed there in the 10th spot. No win yet for him. 84 points up. He will be a playoff driver unless something absolutely crazy happens for him in these next 2 races. Those 2 are playoff drivers. So to my eyes, basically 2 spots left. Taylor Gray, 67 points up there in that 11th spot, as you see. He should be able to get into these playoffs. It's just going to depend on who wins here in these next 2 races. Portland this weekend, and is the big one here to see if another new driver can win. Obviously, Harrison Burton, 36 points up on his cousin, Jeb Burton, easily able to be mounted over 2 weeks. It's going to be a battle for Jeb Burton to get there, but he can absolutely do it. Ryan Sieg, Dean Thompson, Christian Eckes, everybody else on the Xfinity side, well, you have to win to get in. So basically, in my eyes, you have 1 spot left open, maybe 2, after, depending on if you get a new winner this weekend. But we're down to crunch time here. You're going to see a lot of guys making moves to win, kind of like you did in the Cup Series last week as well, right? In terms of the playoff standings here. 2 races left in the regular season. You got to win to get in at this point for these lower tier guys. Jeb Burton, I think he's going to need a win to get in. He's not going to be able to pass on points over his cousin there, Harrison Burton. He's just not going to be able to do it. So unless we have a new winner, though, that you have your playoffs already set up. Now things can move up and down, of course, as needed and necessary from that side. So plenty of unresolved stuff here with the playoffs on the Xfinity side. They're trying to sell us that way as well. Of course, this is the interesting thing on the Xfinity Center. Connor Zilic, of course, he's accumulated 36 playoff points, as you just saw on your screen. Justin Allgaier has 24 playoff points. No other driver in the Xfinity Series has more than 8 points at this time. That is crazy how they have dominated, of course, this. And, of course, Connor Zilic and Allgaier, teammates out there as well to be that side. So Sam Mayer, who's in that 3rd spot, as you saw on that thing there, he is a road course runner out there. Obviously, so is Connor Zilic. He's the one with the 8 playoff points. He's only 26 points behind Allgaier in the regular season standings. That can technically be made up, especially with the courses coming our way here, right? With Portland coming up as well. So, it could possibly happen. Will it? Slightly not, but at least it's a selling point, and we can pay attention to it as well as we talk about that. So Zilic is a road course guy as well, so it's not like you're going into it as Mayer and going, I can beat Zilic. He's terrible at road courses. So that's what I think. But NASCAR's selling that angle. I bought into it. Give us something to look into as well from that side. So, so we have the playoff points. The road course could change things up, and it's going to be kind of fun to see this weekend, as well as we see Portland International Raceway this weekend for the Xfinity side of things. So, the other side here is when I was talking about, finishes here at Daytona. Obviously, Connor Zilic, Parker's killing Klingerman. Sammy Smith was second. Justin Allgaier third. Jesse Love fourth. Sam Mayer fifth. Brandon Jones sixth. Dean Thompson seventh. Garrett Smithley eighth. Brendan Poole ninth. And then Carson Vappel there in 10th. There just for the top 10 finishing order there at Daytona. Just to refresh your memory into last week. Daytona TV ratings here for the CW. 1,092,000 total viewers for Friday night's race there. Of course, remember, Friday night race there at Daytona. Viewership was up 33% over last year's summer Daytona's race, which was the same weekend as well. 33% increase on Friday night, folks. If you compare it to the 24th race of the regular season, last year, that was at Atlanta, viewership was up 36% at that time. And as this race was coming to a closure, final laps, 1,179,000 viewers tuned in at that point. People love the Daytona race. People like the nighttime racing there as well. Of course, that was on a Friday night for that side as well. So, it's interesting. So in that battle for the regular season championship I told you about, I was going off of memory early, and I should never do that as well. As I said, it is a close battle here for that regular season championship. Gets you those extra points going into the playoffs. That's probably going to, go into the last race of the year to pay attention to, and it's going to be fun here to see which teammate, right, gets to that point. So, road course this weekend for the Xfinity Series of Portland. I don't know. You guys tell me. Do we see a new winner here? Connor Zilic could have his 8th win, obviously, being a road course this weekend. Is he going to be able to race the whole race weekend here coming up, right? Things are secured for him. They want positive momentum, but he can't get hurt again. Obviously, that's detrimental going into the playoffs. So are we going to see a change? Does Connor Zilic not be able to finish this race again? Does that open it up for a new winner, Sam Mayer possibly, into this race? There's a lot of question marks here going into the second to last race of the season. This is going to be fun, folks. You're going to want to tune in to Portland this weekend in terms of at least the the Xfinity side of things. So it's at Portland International Raceway Saturday night, 4:30 p.m. for the Xfinity Series. So look at this Saturday you have if you're a racing fan. Saturday morning, Darlington Raceway. Noon Eastern, so 9 a.m. our time out here for the morning racing. And then, boom, you get a few hours of break. 4:30 p.m., you get the Xfinity race there at Portland as well that night. It's going to be a fun Saturday, folks. And you got college football as well for those of you that enjoy that coming up as well this weekend, and a big weekend here around that. And then, of course, we move into the Cup Series. And last weekend, obviously at Daytona. Well, we'll talk about the Daytona side of things here first. And then it was an interesting race, right? We knew things could get shaken up here as it's the final race here for the Cup Series. I told you, unless we got a new winner, we had the playoff series set, meaning Alex Bowman was going to sneak into the playoffs. And things got interesting early, obviously, around Daytona. So Alex Bowman was in the last playoff spot, needed to stay there, needed a win. No new winner, and he was into the playoffs regardless. Early in the race, lap 27. Well, let's go to Bowman's in-car and see how his race is going here. NASCAR 1. Yes, folks, that is heartbreaking when you just need to stay out on the racetrack, complete this race to qualify for the playoff standing there in that last spot, assuming nobody new wins, right? Now he's out of the race early in this race. He's just got to sit in the hauler and his team and just hope a repeat winner happens at that point. Then it got a little less hairy because Tyler Reddick had so many points going into this. But Tyler Reddick got in a mix-up, of course, with Kyle Larson early in this race as well. But he did obviously have a lot more points to do it. So 2 guys with playoff hopes early in this race knocked out. Well, Tyler Reddick actually got his spot guaranteed there after that big race there in lap 27, I believe, there on the Cup side. So Alex Bowman, can you imagine? Alex Bowman has to just sit there and watch the rest of this race here because he needs help to qualify for the playoffs at that point. There's nothing he can do then at that point. Later on in the race, toward the end of the race, Logano is leading this race and just going around. And I thought at this point, I said, if Logano can stay in front of this, Logano's going to win this thing. Right? Alex Bowman needs a winner. Logano has won before, right, to get that win out there. Well, Logano's in the lead late, and let's check in and see how it's going for Logano here in NASCAR 2.
Logano, can they bring it home
the
now?
22 gets spun.
Hold it, get it straight. Still green here, still green.
22 will spin to pit road, so the yellow won't come out.
After leading for 23 laps in this Coke Zero Sugar 400, the caution does come out.
Yeah, when it went.
Logano leading that race late. Spins out, loses it, goes down there. Obviously, not a chance for him to win after that at that point. Right? You've got a lot of cars behind him of guys that haven't won this season and would love to win to qualify for a playoff spot as well. So, Alex Bowman's just got to be sweating a little bit more at that point. Now, if you guys saw it last week, we'll just rehash this and remind you, white flag lap, NASCAR number 3.
Ryan Blaney now comes into the mix. Can you believe the finish that we are about to see? Cole Custer and Ryan Blaney. This would be epic for Haas factory team. Ryan Blaney ahead of Custer, coming to the line. Ryan Blaney's going to do it.
I mean, he wins by a nose, a little bit there, like a whole front hood of his car. Ryan Blaney, did you see that second, third, fourth place? Non-playoff drivers there. That's how close it was for a new winner there at Daytona. And Ryan Blaney's able to get his hood in there and get that win, which means Alex Bowman also advances in the playoffs. He said afterwards, he owes him 5 million beers, his tabs on him and things like that. Because obviously he needed that beyond any other reason in order to advance into the playoffs. That's how close it was for him, in that race. So if you saw like the running order there, Ryan Blaney wins it, repeat winner. Alex Bowman moves on. Suarez came in second. J.J. Haley came in third. Cole Custer comes in fourth. And then Jones finishes in fifth place in this race. Eric Jones. All drivers were that close to clinching a playoff win by winning that race. That's how close it was. That was unbelievable finish in terms of playoff implications. Ryan Blaney getting the win obviously is the big deal for Alex Bowman. But what a finish. What an unbelievable push by outside playoff guys trying to qualify for that spot. I thought that ending was absolutely beautiful. I thought the race was typical Daytona race. Guys would spin out. It wasn't a shocker to me that Logano lost it there, right? Got spun out there when he did. And then the ending's not a surprise either. But to have, second, third, fourth, and fifth place, all playoff guys outside looking in, battling out. It's just fantastic. You cannot write that script any better if you were in NASCAR finishing up that race, of course, in Daytona. So that fantastic side from there as well. So we have the playoff set going into it. As we go to break here, let's throw up that. We'll come back, talk about it as well. Here's NASCAR number 4 here. Yes, there we have it. We are ready to go for the playoffs. Your 16 playoff drivers. Of course, I snaked that picture from NASCAR. It's better than the individual side. So when we come back, we'll, of course, talk playoff standings, where everybody stands, where we are. Show you the bracket here, right? That'll have the tracks that for each round coming up. I am going to do a playoff bracket here this weekend, either Friday or Saturday. I'm not sure on a couple of these races on who I have see advancing. But I will have that posted up, of course. Join me at the Pit Stop Talk on Twitter. And join me there, and let's talk and have communications about the NASCAR race as the playoffs get underway. So, folks, come on back. It's the Pit Stop. We'll keep it going here. Playoff standings, then, of course, 23-11, Front Row Motorsports lawsuit, and a little bit more leading up to Darlington this weekend. Come on back, folks. And we're back here at the Pit Stop. Thank you for joining me for this week. Of course, you can find us free podcast version as well on a Podbean right now. Is the only place you can find it right now. Search for at the Pit Stop Talk. All one word. It'll come right up for you. Of course, you can follow me on X as well, at the Pit Stop Talk, Facebook as well. And you will see a link there to the free podcast if you'd like to listen to us that way, of course. We put this up on demand at Robat TV as well. And then new, starting this week, we've started a YouTube channel out there where we are putting the shows up on demand on our YouTube channel as well. Search the Pit Stop, Stephen McCollum. It'll come right up for you as well there on YouTube. Of course, we'll get that link onto the social medias as well for you out there. So if you don't want to log into Robat TV and you want to share us with your friends, YouTube channel is out there. Just started that this week to get it on there. Like and subscribe to that page as well. We might do some, right, as I'm watching the races at home. We call it the home fortress here for my programs. Definitely, we might do some stuff from home as we're watching some exciting stuff happen this weekend here as the playoffs starting for the NASCAR guys out there. And as we said, playoff standings are there. Let's throw up those playoff standings again that you saw as we went into that break. Kyle Larson, of course, leads with the 26 points there for him. 2032, William Byron is tied with him. So they're 1 and 2 there for their playoff points. 32 total. As, of course, the playoffs reset here in this first round of the playoffs. Denny Hamlin there is just 3 points behind them there with his 29 playoff points. And Ryan Blaney with that win, 26 playoff points going into the playoffs. Then you got the Christopher Bell, 23 playoff points. Shane Van Gisbergen, 22 playoff points for him with his victories in the regular season. Then you got the Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, Austin Cindric, 10th, Ross Chastain, 11th. Joey Logano 12th. There are 16 drivers in the playoffs. After this round of 3, 4 get eliminated. Right now, under the outside looking in, we'll put it that way, under the cut line, you got Josh Berry there. Only 2006 points, but he is 1 point behind the 11th and 12th spot right now. Same with Tyler Reddick there in the 14th spot. Austin Dillon in 15th, and then Alex Bowman getting into the playoffs, squeaking into the playoffs with the help of Ryan Blaney there winning it. Well, he is in that 16th spot, and you see they're negative from that positive spot there, as you see on your screen. 1 point for the first couple guys, 2 points, and then 5 points for Alex Bowman there. So the goal here is to win. You move on automatically to the next round. You get an automatic spot. So the winner of Darlington, if they're a playoff driver, automatically advances here to the round of 12 coming up. Winning is super important in this race. And Darlington is an interesting racetrack here coming up. So, of course, we'll talk about that. There is a playoff bracket out there. I want to just throw this up for you. For those of you that just aren't familiar and you're watching this show and you're kind of learning about NASCAR and everything, NASCAR at number 5, I believe it should be. It should go up there. Right, so you got all 16 drivers right there. And it has, of course, the racetracks for there's 3 races per round is what is you got here. For NASCAR in this series. So all 16 drivers get playoff points. Winner moves on. So you got Darlington this week, Worldwide Technology coming up after that, and then Bristol is the third race in this round of 16. 4 race cars get a driver. You go to round of 12. You got New Hampshire, Kansas, and the Charlotte Roval. For those of you that don't know, it's the Charlotte racetrack. It's just not the oval. They add some of the infield stuff in there, and they call it the Roval. Very similar to lefts and rights, like a street course, just to kind of simplify it for you there. Then 4 more drivers get eliminated for the round of 8, and that's where you get Las Vegas, that mile and a halfer up there, up the road from us, Talladega, and then Martinsville in that round of 8. And then, of course, the round of 4 is the championship race, which will be here in Phoenix. And the 4 drivers that have advanced battle it out there and the one that finishes the best, right? Whether it's first place, 12th place, whatever. The highest remaining of those 4 is champion of NASCAR. That's how the format is. I will be filling out that bracket here and posting it at social media here, probably on Saturday here this week. As I sit there, because I'm torn on a couple of these drivers. I think we're going to see a couple upsets coming our way where some big-name guys are going to get knocked out, I think, fairly early coming up here, right? What does SVG do? It wins on the road courses, struggles on the ovals. Road courses are coming up here for him as well. So can he survive to advance here with a road course win and run there for him? This is going to be a lot of narratives here. Then, of course, you got that 2311 Front Row Motorsports thing going on, which will bring me to my Darlington winner this weekend and things to that effect, right? So, so Darlington's coming up, first round of the playoffs this weekend. Darlington is a racetrack where which race are we going to get? Let me put it that way. It's a 1.366 mile oval here for these guys. Racing, of course, late afternoon for Darlington here on that side of things. The track will vary. 3 p.m. our time, 6 p.m. Eastern is when it races on Sunday. This is a track that will either have a lot of accidents or be raced clean. It'll either have a lot of passing or it'll have no passing. It's that big of a variation here for this side. This is the 6th time Darlington has hosted a playoff race. The 5th time it's actually hosted the opening playoff race here for the Cup Series at this point. Darlington's one of 5 different tracks to open the postseason in NASCAR Series. New Hampshire, Chicagoland, Las Vegas, and Atlanta were other ones that did that. Last year, Atlanta opened up the playoffs, if you remember that. 5 times here in the NASCAR playoffs getting away in the Cup Series. 5 times the winner of the opening race has gone on to win the championship. So it happens. It doesn't happen often, but it happens. You have to go all the way back to 2004 when Kurt Busch did it, and then 2011, Tony Stewart. 2012, Brad Keselowski, of course, not in the playoff running here this year. 2017, Martin Truex Jr. did it, but then Joey Logano did it in 2024, of course, when he won the championship, right? So he does have a history of winning this first race. Of course, last year was Atlanta, not Darlington. From that, the last 7 Darlington Cup races, 7 different winners, 7 different drivers won at this race over the last 7 races. And there's strong inkling that one driver can dominate at this racetrack. Problem is, he's won it recently there as well. Denny Hamlin has 3 wins. He's the only repeat winner in the last 11 Darlington races at that time. 8 of the 55 NASCAR Cup Series Darlington race winners are actually active this weekend, and you have them all out there, right? Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Eric Jones, Chase Briscoe, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Joey Logano, and Kyle Busch. All winners at Darlington. The winner at Darlington is going to be somebody, I believe, that has won here before, or an older, experienced driver that's been close to doing so. I believe that's going to happen. The driver who's led the most laps, well, they finished. So anybody who dominates this race, they finished 22nd or worse in 3 of the last 5 Southern 500 races there at Darlington. Just as I said, just because you're in the front and dominating the race doesn't mean you win this thing. A lot of the years as well. Last year, the Southern 500 had 26 lead changes. So I told you at the beginning, you're either going to see a ton of lead changes or you're going to see none. Well, that's the most at a race at Darlington since 2008, those 26 lead changes. Last April's race at Darlington only had 4 lead changes in the whole race. This going into a night race here, cooler tires, temperatures a little bit lower. Is that going to lead to more passing, or is that going to lead to stiffer cars, right, going into it as well? So the last April's race with the 4 lead changes, that was the fewest for a Cup race at Darlington since the inaugural Southern 500 in 1950. I don't think we're going to only have 4. Like, that's the low end. and 26 is the high end, right? Just get something in the middle here would be a perfect race here at Darlington as well. The William Byron, if you don't remember the April race, William Byron led the opening 243 laps of that race. The most laps led from the start in the track's histories. He won on both the first and second stages, ended up finishing second in the race back in April when this happened there. So 8 of the 14 stage winners at Darlington in this next-gen car have finished 25th or worse. So just because you win the stage doesn't mean you win the race, and you also a lot of times go in the back from that side as well. Denny Hamlin has had a lead in the last 11 Darlington races. That's a streak that's there. He's dominant at this racetrack, and quite frankly, he won it in April. He's the one that got past William Byron to get the win back in April as well, right? So we haven't even talked about it yet. But, 2311 Front Row Motorsport lawsuit. At first, I said, Tyler Reddick, no chance to win in this playoffs. There's distraction galore around the 2311 and Front Row Motorsports teams, and stuff. It's just weighing on them. Tyler Reddick, if they don't get their charter back in this decision, we'll talk about that coming up here, he could be a free agent. Teams can poach him from 2311 if he wants to go. Contracts determine you don't have to be a driver for a team. A lot of the contracts say if they're not a chartered member of NASCAR. There's going to be a lot of stuff weighing on this 2311 team, whether you want to admit it or not. Denny Hamlin's in that same boat. He's part owner of 2311, of course, with Michael Jordan. Is he going to have a lot of stuff on his mind going into this race? I think if Denny Hamlin is going to win a playoff race here, he needs to do it early. I think the longer this goes, when the ruling comes out next week and it goes against him, I think there's going to be a lot of negative thoughts, right, in his head and negative things. And what do we do next? What do we do now? Getting ready for the court date in December while he's trying to race it here. I know other people handle that stuff, but if you've ever been involved in something like this, hopefully you haven't. But if you've ever been involved with this, it's always just there in the back of your head. You have anger towards it, right? You want to win to show NASCAR that you can win without them and all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on there, right? And it's a simple mistake, and the playoffs can cost you. I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin to win this race. One, he's dominant here. Yes, you don't see repeat winners here a lot. Denny Hamlin's the best driver in the NASCAR circuit right now that can run at Darlington. And Denny Hamlin needs an early win here. The longer, if he goes to week 2 or week 3 and needs a win, or into the second round, he needs a win now. So the next couple weeks, he can just go run races, not have as much pressure on him to advance and all that stuff going on. Denny Hamlin's going to be my surprise pick to win this weekend. And I don't know if it's a surprise, but I think this is the one where he needs to get, or he and Tyler Reddick are going to be in trouble. And that goes for Tyler Reddick as well. I just don't think he's going to be able to win a playoff race here. So I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin this weekend to win at Darlington. And then, of course, lock in his spot for the second round of the playoffs, which for him, and it'll mean more to him than anybody else for him to win this race this weekend. He wins it, it's kind of an FU, right, to NASCAR. Hey, I'm going to the second round, baby, even though it's with Joe Gibbs Racing and the ownership side. It's going to be in the focus, a lot of microphones in his face. He won't say anything about that. He's not allowed to for the most part, but, it's kind of an FU to NASCAR. And if you saw the text and the emails between 2311 and stuff, they don't have any love, and Denny Hamlin's included in that, for Jim France and the France family who owns NASCAR out there. So I'm going to go Denny Hamlin this weekend. If he doesn't do it this weekend, it's going to be a long playoffs for him, that Joe Gibbs team, and of course Tyler Reddick as well coming up here. So I think they'll be able to do it, and I do think it's going to be kind of a dominating fashion as well, right? Where Hamlin's going to kind of run away with it going forward on that side. So that's setting all of that stuff up. Other news around the Cup Series. It is official. No surprise to anybody. Connor Zilic, they've announced, is going to be racing the Trackhouse Chevrolet full-time in the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series. It's officially out there now. They announced it last Saturday at Daytona. It's a multi-year agreement for Zillowitz to drive with that three-car team. Of course, has Ross Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen on it as well. From that perspective, he's taken that Suarez position going into next year for now. So not a shocker. He needs to be up in the Cup Series. He's dominating down in the Xfinity Series, and he needs that opportunity. And if Trackhouse doesn't have a car for him, somebody else will have one. So you've got to make that move coming up. Then the big news that we'll talk about here till the end of the program. This NASCAR 2311 Front Row Motorsports lawsuit it's been nasty, but it got nasty yesterday. If you didn't see the news yesterday, NASCAR and 2311 Front Row Motorsports had that court date. Of course, originally, NASCAR was told to keep Front Row Motorsports and 2311 as chartered members. That judge originally said they're still charters, nothing you could do about it. It went to the appeals court, the 3-person panel, and they said, no, they don't need to be charters moving forward. There's no irreparable harm. They appealed it again. 2311 Front Row Motorsports went to the whole panel. And they also said, no, you don't need to be charters. Charters have been stripped from these teams. So the racing is open teams. It's costing them money, costing them a lot of other stuff. Then, of course, last week, going into this deal, NASCAR came out and they said they'd like to sell the 4 charters that they own. We have teams that need charters. We need to sell them. We talked about it last week on the program. We need to sell these charters for people and teams going into last week. Then they show up for court tomorrow as well. Yesterday morning. Thursday morning. I should do the dates here instead of when we record this. NASCAR in court referenced 5 points that show the charter deal was fair to teams. Point 1 was plaintiffs would not be asking to make charters permanent. 2, plaintiffs would not have brought additional charters after knowing the new terms. And that's what NASCAR is saying. If this was so unfair, why are people still trying to buy charters? Rick Ware Racing, they've been barred from selling their charter, but people want to buy their charter. Legacy Motorsports is trying to buy a charter. If they were so detrimental, that's NASCAR's stance. Why are teams still trying to get into the sport? Number 3 was plaintiffs would not be asking the court to give them 25 charters. That's been my argument all along. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports decided not to sign the charter agreement and said it was bad for the sport. And then they argued we need to keep our 2025 charter while we go through this court process. To me, that immediately basically invalidates you saying charters are bad if you want to keep it. If they're so bad, race without it. NASCAR's got a big point there, I think, going through this court system. Number 4 point here by NASCAR, plaintiffs' experts would have identified an underpayment under the 2025 charters as well, and that hasn't happened. And then 5, private equity firms and others would not be trying to obtain charters if it was such a negative deal. So that was 5 points NASCAR put out, of course, in the court date yesterday as well. NASCAR did say that if they sell one of the charters that 2311 or Front Row Motorsports bought at the end of last year, remember they bought them from Stewart-Haas Racing when they were shutting down that program, then they said that the teams would be reimbursed for their purchase price. So they'd be paid back for those charters that they bought last year. Both bought one from Stewart-Haas Racing. So they also delivered several other messages from the NASCAR side of things going into it, right? The case will not be decided at the summary judgment phase because there's clear disputes of fact, is what the judge said. So it's going to go to the court date in December. It will not be settled beforehand. If it's not settled, they'll go, obviously, to that trial in December. If either side is certain it will win a trial, the judge flat out said that is clearly the wrong feeling. The judge told both sides, you may feeling confident you're going to win this because we've heard that from the 2311 Front Row Motorsports side. We know we're going to win this in December. We have the best case. This judge said, oh, no, you don't. That anything presented at trial will be public. There will be no private stuff presented at trial. It will go out publicly at that point. And then the judge said if NASCAR loses this case, NASCAR will look much different than it did prior to 2026. And that is absolutely the fact here. If NASCAR loses this charter battle, NASCAR will be a completely different sport moving forward. If they win it, you'll see NASCAR like you do right now. That's what it's at stake. And I know a lot of you fans out there, I know a lot of you out there watching this program right now, you want to see NASCAR broken up. You want to see different people in charge. You want to see something different. And I understand that 100%. I'm not arguing either way on that perspective. I agree. I agree. I agree that that is an option, and I agree that a lot of you want to see that. I'm intrigued on a little bit of chaos and what comes out of it, to be honest with you, from my side as well. So from there. So the judge did not rule yesterday. He said it'll take him about a week to do so. And this is all the argument on if 2311 Front Row Motorsports gets to keep their charters through the 2025 season, or if they still have to run as open teams as well. This got nasty in the hearings. Both sides sparred publicly in this court hearing. It was a 2-hour hearing, and it was like out of a Law and Order episode. People were arguing with each other. People were throwing texts up and emails up that were just not suitable for work. At one point, Denny Hamlin said, the way this gets better is if Jim France dies. That is in an email. Oh, it was with him and a 2311 guy as well. That it is getting that nasty between these teams, of course, moving forward and stuff like that. Lots of money on the line, and you're dealing, quite frankly, with Michael Jordan. He does not like to lose. And there's potential he can lose here. I've said it from the beginning. I said 2311 Front Row Motorsports will win a lot of wars. A lot of battles in this war, I should say. But they're going to ultimately lose the battle when it goes to the court side. NASCAR is going to get dinged in this too. The winner, quote-unquote, winner of this battle isn't coming out unscathed. They're both. So if 2311 Front Row Motorsports win, they're going to win partial sides of it, and they're going to get dinged in bigger sides of it as well. Same thing with NASCAR. NASCAR may win the overall battle, but they're going to come out with scars. They're not going to win everything. Do you guys want to go to this point is kind of the question as we go into that. I'll just plug it here. Jeff Gluck did a fantastic YouTube short there on what the emails and texts and everything were. If you're interested in that, go to Jeff Gluck. I saw him reposted on his X page, Jeff Gluck out there. Of course, athletic writer there for Autosports. He did a fantastic job there. Bob Pockris, of course, Fox Sports. Racing did a fantastic job with the court hearing as well. So if you want more on those emails and texts, we'll go there. We won't cover them specifically here. Is a lot of bad words, a lot of negative stuff out there. And this is fascinating to see just the hatred here being put into a written form here that's being presented at courts and stuff like that. So then today, that was all yesterday on that court deal. So we're waiting now for the judge to make his ruling, probably early part of next week, if I had to guess. Mid part of next week is where we'll hear it. And I firmly believe that they will be opening as racing teams. They're not going to give them their charters back in 2025. I believe that's what's coming. Right? So then, according to the Associated Press today, or Friday, I should say, NASCAR's entered a new filing, and they said they would not do some things. They said that they will not change Rule 7.9.1.1c. And we all know Rule 7.9.1.1c, right? That's the rule that provides that up to 6 open teams will be eligible for starting grid positions. And that's based on the highest ranked team owner point standings for the remainder of this season, which basically means Front Row Motorsports and 2311's teams will be participating in NASCAR. They will not get nudged out because of lack of qualifying in a race. So they will be racing. NASCAR needs to do that to show they're not trying to keep them off. NASCAR is very smart at that. They filed today that they will keep that going as well. NASCAR also said that it will not issue, sell, convey, or lease any additional charges for the 2025 Cup season, is what they said. They also said that they, without court approval, they will not effectuate a sale, conveyance, or lease of either of the two inactive charters. So the charters that I told you earlier, Front Row Motorsports and 2311 bought from Stewart-Haas Racing last year, those are now considered inactive charters. And if they do sell them, they said they would give the money back to those teams. Well, now they're saying in today's filing that they will not lease, sell, conveyance any of those 2 inactive charters for the time being. And then they also said in a court filing today, NASCAR did, it will not issue, sell, convey, or lease more than 4 additional charters for the 2026 Cup Series season. This tells me NASCAR has a feeling that, and I said this last week when NASCAR started throwing it out there that they're going to sell these charters. Big mistake by NASCAR. Because it'll show irreparable harm if you sell those charters to those 2 teams. NASCAR today, dude, what I would probably advise to them, and I'm not a lawyer, I would advise to NASCAR to do. No, you hang on to these charters. You do not threaten to sell them. You do not sell them. You sit on them till this gets done. Because otherwise, you're going to force a judge's hand to say you're going to harm these teams by selling them, because that means they have nothing. And you don't know what the judge is going to rule next week. And even if the judge rules for you and says those charters do not go back to them, you have the court date coming up in December. You do not need 2311 and Front Row Motorsports standing up in court and saying, well, our charters aren't there anymore. They sold them. This is their deal. It shows irreparable harm if you do that. NASCAR filing today, I think it's a pretty smart thing for them as well. So now, by filing that, NASCAR also says that the team's request, 2311 Front Row Motorsports, their request for an injunction is no longer valid because this will leave 6 charters available until the lawsuit is decided. This is why NASCAR is smart in doing this, right? NASCAR got ahead of this injunction. I don't know when they realized it. I don't know if this was all a ruse, but something happened in court yesterday where NASCAR and their lawyers said, we need to keep these charters because they were talking about selling them and putting that pressure on. That might have just been strategery, right, from that side. NASCAR, by doing this, I agree with them. They've made this inefficient. There is no need for an injunction to give the charters back to these 2 teams. It can wait till December now, until the court ruling goes through on if they have charters or if they don't. 2311 Front Row Motorsports is going to lose this battle for the charter side and the overall battle. And what I mean by that is they didn't sign the charter agreement. They didn't have charters this year. Period. End of story. That's the battle they're going to lose. The courts aren't going to make NASCAR get rid of the charter system, which is what they want. They're not going to make them make any of those changes like they want. They're going to lose that battle as well coming up. I predict that coming up. I thought that all along, and I see so now. So that's where we stand on this 2311 Front Row Motorsport lawsuit. This is going to be fascinating to watch over this playoff run, right? Tyler Reddick's in the playoffs. Denny Hamlin, although he races with Joe Gibbs Racing, in the playoffs. How much of a distraction is it for these teams? We'll have to wait and see. And folks, racing day is upon us. Of course, I'm recording this on Friday this week. We'll go back to our normal Wednesday time next week. Make sure you join us. YouTube for on-demand service as well. Podcast at the Pit Stop Talk on the Podbean for the free podcast. And of course, follow us at the Pit Stop Talk as well. And look, it's going to be a playoff bit of racing here. Xfinity guys going to a road course. Do we get a shakeup in their playoff standings as well? We'll talk about it all next week. Of course, follow me on the social media. We'll get you all of the updates that happen, not just over the weekend, around the court sides and everything. We'll see you next week, folks, here at the Pit Stop.